Don't stop.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me on the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. I'm Zach Randall Friedman, your host of this podcast. And we are well into spring, finally. I live in the Boston area, and it was a tough winter, I have to say. I went to Florida in February, what I thought was going to be a little getaway, warm-up vacation, and it was not. It was like record chilling, cold weather there, and I just, they had like record cold. They had iguanas falling out of trees because that's what happens when it's so cold. They fall out of trees, and it was just freezing. And I am all here for spring. I usually love winter because I love my winter clothes. I love the change of outfits. I love the fall. Maybe I love the fall more than winter. Because I have to say this year we had so much snow in Boston that I was really, really over it this year. And our heat bill for this house is just like, it is so crazy how much we spend for heat. I don't know if that's because the price of oil and gas have gone up so much, but like $1,000 a month for electricity heat bill is way too much. And that's what we are spending. You would think we lived in, the White House. We had a huge house that big. But anyway, I am usually such an amazing planner for our trips and vacations. And this year, I did not do so well, or I'm not doing so well. I'll tell you what we do have coming up. We have coming up that we're going to New York to see family and friends in a week. And then in June, I'm going to go see my mom and see her for 4 or 5 days for her birthday and meeting my aunt there, which will be fun. And then July, we're going to do a trip to California, and we're going to go see our friend in Northern California and spend 4 or 5 days with her and her family, and that will be fun. And then we have nothing else planned. And usually I go to Provincetown every summer, and my friend Greg said, hey, I'm going for 2.5 weeks to Provincetown around Labor Day week. And do you want to come? I'm like, nope, skipping. Haven't loved P-Town the last few years. Taking a break for a year, 2 or 3. I don't know. I thought I was going to take a break last year, and I ended up going last minute. But I don't know. I just need a break. And I've also seen how many things are closing. Like Governor Bradford's was sold. Front Street was sold. Bubba's was sold or is trying to be sold. Like there's so many places that have been there since I have been going to P-Town for 20 plus years that are being sold or just, closing down. I don't know if they found buyers. I think the Crown and Anchor they were bought by a new hospitality group. So everything is changing there. It's crazy to me. I feel like if I take a year or 2 off from going to Provincetown, am I going to know what's there still? But I also said the reason I wasn't going to Provincetown this year is because it's so expensive. Last year we went for 5 days. I think we spent like $850, $900 a night on a hotel room. And I mean, you can get a lot in Europe for that much. If you don't fly first class or you don't fly business, which is hard not to, fly at least business to Europe. But I could do comfort, like on Delta to Europe, which is probably what we'll do unless I can get an upgrade because I have status. But I just can't justify spending like $6,000 or $7,000 on a flight to Europe for business class. So we'll see. Price of oil is going up. And they're saying that ticket prices are going to be so expensive this year for vacations. People that are driving for vacation, gas is going to be expensive. Airline prices will be expensive. I think people will be taking the train, like from Boston to New York more instead of flying if they're going up that much. It's really kind of crazy, but we are planning a trip in September or early October to Europe. We are trying to determine where we want to go in Europe. And we want to go somewhere we both haven't been. I think we may have nailed it down to Portugal, even though I've been to Lisbon, but that's the only place in Portugal I've been, and Andrew's never been to Portugal. So maybe we're going to Lisbon. I still want to, even though I've been to Italy several times, I want to go to Rome. I've never been to Rome, which I feel like I have to experience. But Andrew's been to Rome before, a long time ago, so we're not doing that. I've never been to Prague, and neither has Andrew. I'd love to do that. So we're figuring it all out. So I would be curious to know where some of my listeners are thinking about going on vacation this year. If you are in the Boston area and you're gay, most likely, I bet you are going to P-Town at least for a long weekend. Yeah, let me know where you're going this year. I would love to hear ideas of places. There's this dream vacation that I have of going to this island called San Sebastian. And it is, I think it's off of Spain, France. They speak, what language do they speak? It's not French. It's not Spanish. It's a combination. I don't know. I seen it. Anthony Bourdain did an episode and went there, and the food is supposed to be amazing. The people are supposed to be amazing. I think it's very hard to get there. You got to get there, like fly into somewhere and then take a boat there is the only way to get there. So I don't know. It just always it looked like an amazing place to go. So it's on one of my top 5 places that I want to go at some point in my life. So, and that's my plans. I don't have true plans. I have kind of plans, but I need to plan my big vacation, which will be in September somewhere in Europe. So open to ideas if somebody has an awesome place that we should definitely explore in Europe. But let me tell you about my guest today. I loved my guest today. His name is Adam Mizel. He was a private equity, worked on Wall Street for 20 plus years. Sounds like he was very successful. During George Floyd, during COVID, he wanted to make a change. He wanted to unite people. He spent 2.5 months last year in the summer driving across the country, seeing if he could unite people. His name of his organization is Us United. I'm telling you, we need more people like this man in our world. He wants people to be kind. He wants people to become united. He's trying to, push aside politics. Just amazing. When I meet people like this, it gives me hope for the world. It's like, seriously, it makes me think, let's get rid of the political parties. Let's put all that aside, and let's have people like this that want people to be united. He told a story that really resonated with me where he was in Montana and went to this county fair, and there was a woman selling a bunch of MAGA Trump merchandise. And he talked to her about it. And you have to hear the story. He tells it much better than I do. But just the people that he met, he's doing a documentary about this. I can't wait till it comes out. Not just because I love documentaries, because I think this is going to be so powerful. Again, we need more people like him. Take a listen to it. Find out how you can get involved in his mission and his organization and what he's doing, because let's bring the world together. Let's be more kind to people. Let's be more kind to each other. And welcome to my story with Adam. Thanks so much for listening. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me on the Everything and Anything in a Bit Gay podcast. Today, I have a guest who I've been looking forward to meeting on a podcast for the last couple of weeks since we scheduled this. His name is Adam Mizel, and he is changing the way that people think. And I really am glad to have you here, Adam. Thanks for joining.
Oh, I'm really excited. And thank you for that introduction. That's how it goes. I appreciate it.
So, Adam, tell me your story about who you were before 2020? Is that kind of who you, when things switched over? Tell me who you were before 2020.
Well, I spent the first 20-something, well, if you really back up, I've been a person that's always been in professional life. I've been a professional investor. I run public companies. And at the same time, I've been someone who not always knowingly been struggling with what makes me happy, right? Where's my hope? And so I sort of adopted a North Star because I grew up with, a family of, you're all about IQ and achievement and success. I'm like, all right, that's what I'm gonna do. Went to Wall Street. I'm gonna do it. And so I kind of dropped on that ego, and it's been a 25-year journey professionally. Sometimes, moments of happiness, but generally not. And always struggling to figure out who I was and what I wanted. My relationship suffered. So I had this professional success. Spent a lot of time in private equity, ran a public digital media and entertainment company, been an entrepreneur and started companies, and so much I'm proud of. But at the same time, I'm just like, why am I not happy? And so part of that was this, I needed a different North Star than this idea of pursuing success. And I had to find hope, right? And I had to find sort of a focus of how I can make the world a better place while still being impactful and successful. And that journey I've had a lot of lightning strikes I like to describe in my life, but a big one was, May of 2020, George Floyd had been killed. We're all stuck at home in COVID. And I'm just screaming at the television. I'm like, this is not America. This is not the country that I believe in, that I love, and that I want us to be. And I had this epiphany moment. I'm like, I have to do something. And it can't just be another donation to someone else. If I don't give my most valuable resource, my time, nothing's going to change. And so I'm like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'll figure it out. And I went on this journey that we can talk about a second, but led to creating Us United, which is a movement to build unity in America by giving all Americans the tools we need to reunite our country.
Yeah. Awesome. There was something that happened though that kind of like triggered this, right? So tell me that story. What actually like pushed you to really move forward with creating this organization?
Well, it started, like I said, this lightning moment where I'm yelling at the television, right, and no one's going to hear me. Yelling at CNN. So I'm like, well, that's not going to work. My wife was like, Adam, what are you going to do? And I started on the path, and I'm in this group called Patel, which is an interesting community of CEOs and CMOs, some of the biggest companies in the country and the world, and then entrepreneurs and everything in between. A good friend there created a social justice task force. At that time, I joined it. I'm like, I'm on my journey. What am I going to find? Yeah. And that led me to a guy named Ken Wadeke Jr., who's known as the Free Hugs guy. And Ken said, Adam, you got to come with me to Flint, Michigan to meet the sheriff. I'm like, what in God's name are you talking about? A sheriff in Michigan in the winter, it's cold, it's Flint. I mean, every stereotype in the book. But I'm like, one of the things I've learned in my life is when people I respect ask me to do something, I trust them and I do it, because those tend to be simply give the lowest expectation for those conversations or meetings, and they turn out to be the best. And going to meet Chris was a life changer. He's become one of my closest friends. He's the sheriff in Genesee County, Michigan. He's actually now running for governor of Michigan as a candidate to build unity, and he's going to win. I'm convinced of that for lots of reasons, some biased and some not. Yeah. But we hit it off, and the three of us said, we've got to do something. And that was this, we said, let's create, we didn't call it a movement for unity right away. That takes time. I mean, I wrote a business plan because I'm an entrepreneur, and that's evolved. But we started with, we need to do something. And the first thing we did is we created this thing called the Holiday Giving Spectacular. And we brought the entire community together in Flint with the sheriff's office, boxes of necessities donated, given to families in need that were nominated by the community. Yeah. The entire, and then what we also quickly realized is if you ask people what they need, they'll tell you. And so we asked people, and we would raise money and or services and other things donated to help families with real issues. Like, hey, I'm going to lose my job because I can't make a car payment. We would make a car payment. Wow. Literally, I have a hole in my roof that the landlord won't fix. It's snowing in my condo or my apartment. We'd fix the roof. We had a woman one year who, skin and bones, in her 60s, in chemo, in a house, 400 square foot house, hot water heater's broken. So in December, she's taking cold showers after chemotherapy. We're like, no, we get her a hot water heater and we install it, right? But it was not, the we was everyone, police, community, volunteers, schools, hospitals. That's what unity looks like. And from that simple beginning, we've now done that for 6 years. We expanded it to over 30 communities last year with different sheriffs around the country. And our big goal In 5 years, why isn't there a holiday spectacular in every county in the country? There's 3,086 sheriffs in counties across America. Let's have a holiday spectacular everywhere. Why not? Because that's
Yeah.
what unity looks like. Right? When have you fought with someone? When have you argued over pick your issue? When you're volunteering together. You do not do that.
Yeah, you don't, and it makes people become friends.
Correct.
Yes, I totally agree.
You find that common ground
Yep.
and that basis of understanding, and then you have a relationship. So yes, tough conversations happen in any relationship. But if you respect somebody, and that's a really, really, really important word in unity and in the world and in life, respect. I don't have to
Yeah.
like you. We don't have to be best friends, but if I respect you and you respect me, we're going to get along. We're going to find common ground. And we're going to find ways to move forward. It's really important.
And we'll be right back. Okay, now back to the show. So with all the country being fully divided today in today's world because of politics and stuff, and not to get too into politics, but do you think that what your movement is helping those two different parties or three parties, whatever we are now, come together as you're kind of doing these events and doing these celebrations and extravaganzas? Do you feel like people are coming together for those?
Well, let me back up a second. I want to challenge a statement that you made. The country
Okay.
is fully divided. It's not.
Okay.
I spent last summer, took 2.5 months in a purple and white pickup truck, and I drove across this entire country. Yeah, there's a good cliche or saying, if you want to hate America, watch the news. If you want to love America, drive across it.
I like that.
I spent 2.5 months in a car with a film crew talking to sheriffs and thousands of people in almost every state in this country. And what I can tell you unequivocally from doing that, plus all the other conversations and the events and the things that we do online and in real life, the vast majority of Americans are not divided and don't want us to be and don't think we are, right? What I heard from everybody, when we drove across the country, I said, what does unity mean to you? How do you define unity? And I'm going to come back and ask you to do this, Zach. And what's interesting is everybody used some subset of the same 12, 15 words as part of what they described. Really important. You cannot fix a problem if you don't define it the same way, right?
Yep.
And then I asked everybody, do you think the country's getting more united or more divided, and why? And the vast majority said, we don't believe this country's as divided as our politicians and our media tell us. We know we're being manipulated. We know we're being inflamed, and we don't want it. We don't think it is. Even the people who did think we were divided, and there were plenty, said, I don't want us to be. That's not what I want. So the part of the question is, how do we do this? How do we fix this, right? Because what the next thing came was, we need hope. We need inspiration. You're coming to me in New Jersey, Adam, and like in a purple and white pickup truck, you're giving me hope, which to me was mind-boggling because I don't think I'm trying to find hope half the time.
Yeah.
But what they really are saying, and I would say, look, this is what I heard in Texas, and this is what I heard in Alabama, and this is what I heard in Illinois, and it's the same thing you're telling me in New Jersey. And they're like, see, we need to know that because that's not what we hear on TV, or that's not what we hear in social media. So we need those stories. So I would challenge your premise. Absolutely. There's 15%, I'm going to say, and there's surveys that suggest this is about right, on each side of the political divide that are invested in division and loudly screaming it. But 70-ish% of Americans are not. They don't want it. They don't think it.
I love hearing that, though, because that's what I want. And I'm so glad you said this because I do an LGBTQ plus news podcast daily, 10 minutes or less of kind of news. And a lot of it, I'm looking for positive stories because everything is so negative in the news. I'm going to like news sources and getting news and stuff, and I'm making sure I'm fact checking them and stuff. But the fact that you're saying that you drove across the country, you spoke to real people, and you don't think it's as bad as it is, makes a lot of sense to me. And it makes me feel very hopeful. So I love it that you brought that up because I would love the other 30% to come and be united as well. So
yeah, and we'll get there. I mean, first of all, there's a lot of those stories. You can see them on our Instagram and on our TikTok. We posted lots of videos from the summer. I'm right now working with our film crew. We're making a documentary. Be like, this is America's not what you think. And by the way, there's other issues and things we learned that some of the challenges and problems aren't what you think that block unity, for sure. And we can talk about that too. But there's 15% invested in division. Eventually we'll change those minds, but that's not where we're starting. Because at the core of it, part of what Us United said is when we backed up, we said, what's the issue and how do we change it? We said, biggest challenge that we see, and there's many, but one of the biggest, almost all of us live and work in social media and ever shrinking bubbles. And outside of those bubbles, we categorize other people and we label them. And none of that is bad because it's a really complicated world. But have you ever sympathized or compromised with a label? No. You need a person. You do it with a human. Yeah. So what we said is at Us United, we've got to get people out of those bubbles and in connection with people who have different backgrounds and experiences than their own. That connection can be like this. I mean, on a Zoom or on some other video, it can be in real life, it can be all of the above, but you and I have a connection even if we're not in the same room because we're talking to each other and we see each other. That's important, I think.
Yeah.
So part one of Us United's mission is really how do we get you out of those bubbles and connected? And we have a lot of things we do for that. Number two, and I ask everybody this, and I'll ask you this. Can you think of brands today that stand for division?
Can I?
Democrat, Republican.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
MAGA, Antifa, Black Lives Matter. We go down the list, whether they want to or not. So many of our brands stand for division. Okay, what's the brand for unity?
Being together, everybody together, diversity.
Right, but there's no brand. That's Us United. We're the brand of unity.
Yeah.
That's right. You need baseball caps like I'm wearing. You need t-shirts. Our color, purple and white. Why purple? Red and blue make purple.
Yeah.
That's the color of unity.
Love that.
Right?
Yeah.
So again, if you're going to build a movement for unity, if you're going to change culture, because at the core, what you're describing and what I'm describing and we both see is the culture is stacked in favor of division. It's human nature. It's a lot more fun to watch a fight than to watch people holding hands, right? Usually. It's easier to motivate people with fear and anger sometimes, right? Like, look, I love the Star Wars movies, but whether you do or don't, I mean, George Lucas was on it, right? The dark side of the Force is about fear and anger and hate. The good side of the Force is about, love and trust and support. Like, that's exactly where we sit, right? That it's really easy to succumb to the fear and the anger and the hate. We have to offset that, right? So we got to change culture. And so a lot of what we do at Us United are on those paths. And so to that question you asked of, yes, I mean, we get people together, whether they're in service. We have a unity pledge that you can take on our socials and online. And what we ask you to do when you take it, simple message, change the algorithm. Back to social media. What if everybody took the pledge and said, once a week, I will post on my social media one nice community building thing that I did or I saw in my community. But if we all just did that once a week, literally we change the social media algorithm. Literally we change what the news and the traditional media covers. This is not, because one of the things I heard a lot was, on the road, what am I going to do? I'm not the president. I'm not a billionaire. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm like, well, if that's the attitude, you're right. We go nowhere. But all of us took the pledge and changed the algorithm with one post a week. You can do that. Give me 2 minutes of your life once a week. Changes everything. People are like, you're right, right?
And you're giving instructions on your website on kind of how to do that, right?
It's easy. Basically, it's really easy. Take the pledge, and then we say, post that you did it. Share the positive story. I mean, there's instructions. Share it and hashtag us. I mean, it's what you do every day on social media, right? It's not hard. But then you start to spread that, and people say, wait a minute, maybe there is a little more unity out there. There's a little more hope. There's a little more inspiration. So you can do those things. And then, we do lots of events. We've been rolling out and expanding Change Culture, Unity seats, where we've been doing half a dozen seats at all kinds of sporting events where the Unity seats, we work with the local sheriff who's in our Sheriff Unity network. We identify two groups of two people who do not know each other at all. Different, same community. Put them in the Unity seats. Get them on the Jumbotron in the arena. And basically the message is, Unity got me great seats to see Pick your favorite team. I got the Yankees
Yeah.
behind me, right?
Yeah.
Could be
Yep.
whatever it is. Division, I'm home alone on the sofa. Unity, I'm in great seats. I'm on the scoreboard and I'm being celebrated. And what happens at sports, right? That's one of the things still in our culture that unify us. Common ground, whether pick your sport, pick your team, we have something in common, we're going to like each other. By the way, we can be rivals. I'm a big Yankee fan. It's a lot less fun without the Red Sox. So I have friends that are Red Sox fans, and we razz each other.
I live in Boston. I'll just tell you, but I will tell you that I lived in New York for so long, and I'm still on the Yankees side. So
I love that.
We're on the
we
same
did
side.
our first Unity seats at Fenway Park last summer on our road trip. So here you go. I'm a diehard Yankee fan. I'd never been to Fenway. It is beautiful, by the way. I'm sitting there. It's the Astros, who I hate because they cheated the Yankees out of the World Series, and the Red Sox, who I hate because of the Red Sox. I still had fun. I'm high-fiving people. We're interviewing people. We're cheering people because that's what sports do. And let's send the message that this is what, think of any locker room. Think of 20, 35,000 people at Fenway and 100,000 people at football stadium. That's unity.
Yeah.
We just have to honor that and show a way for people and a path for people to do that every day.
So did you leave your corporate life behind and this is what you're doing full time now?
100%. 100%. I mean, this is all I do. I mean, that's just, I'm on some boards. I still have, I mean, you've been into the business world, you still have touches, but this is what I do full time. And it requires it. I mean, look, as you did say, and I agree with you, yes, Americans may not think we're as divided and don't want us to be, but every day, the headlines, the news, the culture, the social media, that 15% on each side is way louder than you and me, right?
Yes.
And so there's so much to do all the time.
Yeah. So just to share, I actually just left my job a week and a half ago to do this full time.
Awesome. Congratulations.
And I was 20 something years in the pharmaceutical industry. And it's scary to do that and to go off. And, I'm not doing amazing work like you're doing, but I'm trying to do something on my own because I felt the same way as you did, where I didn't feel totally like I'm going to work, I'm making great money, but I didn't feel totally satisfied with what I was doing. So this makes me talking to people like you and telling their stories and letting people, putting out a good message to the world is kind of what I love doing now, and that's just, I feel like a whole new person. It's only been a week and a half, but I feel like a brand new person after a week and a half.
Well, I welcome you to the entrepreneurial path.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've been told it's not easy. It's hard.
It's not.
But if you love it, it helps a ton. It definitely can be lonely. And there's good days and bad days, more good days than bad days. But you'll be happy because you're pursuing your passion. I mean, people have to do a range of things. I have gone on the speaking circuit because part of what I have to do is evangelize about unity and why it's important, what we're doing right here. And, not everyone should quit their job and build a movie unity, build a media empire as you are trying to do. But if you feel that way, do it. But you know what? You can still add little pieces of what I like to describe as, dare to fail gloriously into your life, right? Because if you don't take any risks, you miss out on so much. And not everyone should be I'm off the chart on taking risks. I know that. There's lots of reasons.
You are off the chart for sure.
If you're doing what I'm doing right now, you'd be like, this guy's off the chart for taking risks. And you don't have to be that. But you know what? Do a little bit. Maybe it's within your job. You're be inspired by this conversation and say, you know what? I could create a little bit. I could reach out to people that I don't know in my own company, right? I could start a, weekly online conversation and invite people in my company just so we get to know each other. We do something called 30 for Us. Every month it's a Zoom. Anyone can come. We have a topic and you end up in a breakout room of 5 random Americans. Back to what I said, getting out of your bubble and talking to different people. You could do that in your company. You could say, you know what? I'm going to go volunteer somewhere in my community. People need help. One of the most powerful messages I heard this summer, we were in Birmingham, Alabama, and woman, she and her mom started and own 2 restaurants that are great food, great Southern barbecue, but also they do gluten-free, which is amazing because I have a gluten-free family, so I'm very tied into that. And she has something that she calls the 5 mile rule, which I love. It's really simple, right? She's like, if you want to build unity, focus on the 5 miles around the radius around where you live. Help people in your neighborhood. Help check in on people. Be kind to people. Ask them how they're doing. Volunteer in your community. Support local businesses. Go
Yeah.
out of your way in that 5 miles. And she said, look, if we all need to do, if we all do that, we're done. She's like, I get it. I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. The idea that I'm unifying with someone in LA, they're like, she's like, that's 2,000 miles away. Like, they seem very different than me, maybe. All the things that the TV tells us or the social media tells us. Her answer is, don't worry about it. Do it in 5 miles. Because if everyone does it within 5 miles, all of our 5 miles overlap. And
Yeah.
basically, if we all do it within 5 miles, we've unified the country. Because all of a sudden, that person in LA doesn't seem so different to me in Birmingham, Alabama, if we're all committed to that 5 mile rule, right? So back to where we started. You don't have to quit your job and do all those things. Just practice the 5 mile rule and tell people.
Yeah.
Post that, right? Back to what we said. Little things change the culture. Do that. And still crush it in pharmaceuticals, crush it in financial services, crush it in, working at Amazon, whatever it may be, and add a little bit of that energy, that service, and that sort of dare to fail gloriously to your life. Great. We're all better for it.
And part of my leaving my career is part of my time is that I am going to do stuff like you're talking about. And maybe your organization is the one that I give my volunteer time to, because
Come
that's,
on, we'll take it. We need all the help we can get, as you have
yeah.
identified.
Yeah. And so I want to ask a question because you told a couple of amazing stories at the beginning about the woman with the hot water heater, the person that had the hole in the roof and it was snowing. But what is one story? Those are amazing. But is there one particular story where you just you couldn't believe, like you felt so amazing afterwards because you helped somebody? Is there one story
Oh my gosh.
that comes up that's just above and beyond all of them?
I mean, there's so many. I mean, the Holiday Spectacular, which we do on the second Saturday in December every year, is one of my favorite days of the year for what you just said, because we end up helping, in most communities, 150 to 250 families. And then we have teams that deliver. So usually meet like 15 different families. And so I leave that day and I can walk away and say, I can see we made massive impact, right? Just in that day. But maybe to your question, the woman with the water heater is one of those that really resonated with me. Another one, a couple of years ago at the Holiday Spectacular, stopped at a family and a woman was battling a very rare cancer. And her family was struggling. They were in Michigan. They'd been in the University of Michigan. And they couldn't find any answers. And I had, for a lot of reasons, my wife's family history has been supported and made donations to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, particular to help cancer patients and cancer patients who can't afford to be there. So I was able to connect that family to the Mayo Clinic in a way that they never would have had access to. And it was just,
wow.
I have a relationship, someone needed help, was able to make that connection. And I walked away and said, God, that's why you do these things, right?
Yeah.
Because unfortunately the woman ultimately did pass away, but she had a lease on life. There was hope. And I keep coming back to hope. You've heard me say that word a lot because I think it's one of the most powerful words in the English language. And there's a quote that I love from Christopher Reeve, actually, after he's paralyzed. Says, if you choose hope, anything is possible. And that's an example, right? I mean, so I try to guide myself with that belief and that statement, and basically, I got to have hope in me and I got to give hope to other people and have them spread hope. So if we spread hope, we can make change.
And we'll be right back. Okay, and now back to the show. And do you see people as you're kind of doing these events, or you traveled across the country, when you're talking with people, do you kind of see because I'll just say in the 25 minutes that we've been talking, you made me think about how I am perceiving, how I'm taking in the news, social media, how I said the country's divided at the beginning of the call. You've changed my mind a bit, I'll have to say, in a short amount of time. So do you see that aha moment with people sometimes whenever you're just talking with them and they're like, or maybe you're getting it from them. You're like, oh, yes. Like, does that happen often where you're just like, I have changed this person's mind and making people be united because of what you said? Do you see that often?
Yeah, I do. I mean, and it feels great when it happens. I mean, one of the things I heard a lot on the road trip, people would ask, hey, Adam, help. I don't understand. So and so on the other side, or the other side in general, they just don't listen. They just want to tell me they're right and I'm wrong. What do I do? Help. Because I don't want to, it'd be like, I don't want to be fighting that way. You know, I don't want to lose a friend or a family member, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And one of the things I said, look, start with when you talk to people, ask questions and truly listen to the answers. Start right there. If you listen to people and they feel that you're listening to them, you're starting to break down a wall that would otherwise exist. And then I said, look, next is don't jump to this is why you're wrong and I'm right. I'm like, if I tell you you're wrong and I'm right, your wall is up. You're like, ah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So really focus. I said, one of the things that I saw and I learned a lot this summer, on both sides, me doing this and being done to me, when you disagree with someone, share your personal story or, what happened, an experience happened to you, to a family member, a friend, because an experience, you can't tell me my experience is wrong. It happened. I lived it. It happened to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. You're a lot more likely to listen and change your mind a little bit if you're talking to someone who's listening to you and sharing experiences. So, I mean, I had a lot of these conversations on the road. One of them, and I've talked about this one has stuck with me one of the most. We were in Victor, Montana, which is in the Bitterroot Valley. Beautiful country.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I love Montana.
Yeah. I mean, so nice. It's so beautiful. We drove all through there. Town fair, small town fair, and we participate in the parade and then go talk to people. We're talking to people with the sheriff at the fair. And there's a woman named Misty who had a booth selling all of the most aggressive sort of make America great again, alligator, you name the t-shirt that would offend people on the left, she had it. By the way, I had a similar conversation in Omaha, Nebraska with a young man who was working in a t-shirt store in Omaha that was equally offensive with t-shirts would offend anyone on the right? And probably a bunch of people in the middle too, on both sides.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Misty, help me understand, because we talk about a lot of things, and her answers to what unity is and are we divided and all these different things were very thoughtful and not that dissimilar what you might say or I might say. So Misty, help me understand. I think we would both agree that Donald Trump, who you're selling t-shirts in support of, an example, and in their movement, doesn't adhere or believe in the behavior and the way of approaching unity and approaching others that think differently that you just said. I mean, we would agree. She said, I agree with you. That's not what he does. I'm like, so help me understand how you reconcile what you said you believe with the merchandise you're selling and the person you're supporting who's not doing what you say you believe. It said, Adam, you're right. And I said, look, I'm not having dinner with Donald Trump. I'm not having him over for a movie. We're not watching a movie together. Like, I hired him to do a job. And the job I hired him to do is to fix the country. And I don't have to like him or his personality or all the things he does. If I think he's doing a good job of fixing the country, I'm there. And she's like, and I do think he's doing a good job. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I got it. I'm like, whether I agree or don't agree, that is an absolutely thoughtful way to be thinking about what you're doing, who you're voting for, what you're supporting, right? And so that impacted me, as an example, significantly in understanding sort of that perspective. We continued our conversation, and she said, she talked about immigration. I'm like, she said to me, Adam, we got to get out of America all these immigrants who don't love America. I'm like, well, who are you thinking of? And her answer is, she says, Arabs. I said, all of them? She says, all of them. I'm like, okay. Missy, let me tell you a story. To my friend Chris, who we talked earlier, who's running for governor, in Michigan, in Dearborn Heights and Hamtramck and Dearborn is the largest Arab American population in the country. First of all, I said, Missy, did you know in the last election that 45% of that group voted for Donald Trump? So Kamala Harris won that area of Michigan barely. And that was a big reason she lost the state of Michigan. She's like, She's like, I didn't. She's like, shocked. She's like, no, I can't believe that. I'm like, yeah, so
Yeah.
almost half of them voted for the same person that you believe in too. I said, but let me tell you one more story. So Chris and I were at a fundraiser for a man who was announcing his reelection for campaign for city council. And Chris was asked to speak. And I'd say Chris and I were probably one of 5 or 6 white people in a room of 200, 250 people, almost all Arab American, because that was the community. I said, before that fundraiser started, every single person in the room stood up and they sang the national anthem. Every single one. I've been to a lot of fundraisers in my life. I've never, ever seen that happen.
Yeah.
And she looked at me and she said, wow, I had no idea. I'm going to have to change my perspective.
Wow.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. Now it's not always that black and
Yeah.
white, that stark. But the point of sharing experiences is, even if someone doesn't say what Missy said to me, if you're going to change their opinion 5%, 10%, 20%, you may never know, but you're a lot more likely to do that with a shared experience because, again, it happened to you. And I have lots more stories like that I could tell because I've seen that a lot. And that's one of the keys to unity is back away from, I'm right, you're wrong. This is what I read in the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or saw it, the Daily Wire from Ben Shapiro or saw that's not going to convince anybody.
Yeah.
This is something that I experienced and it's different than what you're describing. And this is how it affected me or my mom or my dad or my sister or my friend or whatever. One of the things that's beautiful about this country, and I saw this driving across it, and I think it's unique about America. Our country, and really that means the people here, have way more empathy than many, many other people in places around the world.
Yeah.
We really do. And that's, I think, one of the reasons, the strengths and the greatness that exists in America comes from that empathy. There's a great quote from Maya Angelou that I'll butcher. It basically says, we all have empathy. The question is, do we have the courage to share it? But I think if you share experiences and you tap into that, you tap into people's empathy, and that's where change can happen. That's where connection can happen. That's where unity can happen, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I do have faith that things will continue. I agree with you about the empathy because, so I grew up in Miami and I lived through Hurricane Andrew where we were south of Miami. And so our house was completely like gone almost. And, Miami's obviously a very diverse community. And the way that you've seen people come together during a tragic, event like that, I go back and I think about that sometimes. I also lived in New York and I was working for Merrill Lynch during 9/11. So I was connected to the World Trade Center. So I was there that day. And how I seen people leaving and walking away. And I remember hugging this woman and helping her get up, walk 20 blocks because she just was so frightened about stuff. And just like those type of things I see, and like I have to go back and think about those sometimes because it makes me like realize there is a lot of empathy in this country and in the world, and people do have it in them. We just got to get back there. So I love it that you have kind of shared those stories about people that do have the empathy still.
It's there. And as you said, it's up to us to tap into it. And like you, I lived 6 blocks from the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001. I watched planes hit buildings. Watched people jump out of buildings. It was a horrible day, but I also was that night down there serving food from our favorite restaurant to all the first responders, to all the firefighters, talking to people, helping them. And that's what brings, what we have to hopefully get to is we don't need such crisis, such tragedy to find our empathy and our commonality. That's what I'm trying to do, because we come together when there's crisis, or when there's, an attack, like let's figure out how we can do that on a more regular basis, right?
Yeah, I love that. I love that message. I want to talk about your musical event that's coming up in winter of 2026. I'm just reading from here. We are the people unite for the year's most talked about musical event. So tell me about that. And people are they can sign up for it to get updates.
As we were saying before, I have to something we have to update on the website. That is not going to happen in winter 2026. We're already spring just about. I have a a dream and a commitment that we need to have a concert for unity, right?
Okay.
Because back to what we said, sports, music, food, those are all unifying things, and music is a big one. And so, we've worked on this a couple of times, and we're working on it. It's a lot harder than you think to get these than I thought to get these things done. But we're driving to that because it's a way to celebrate our road trip. It's a way to celebrate Unity Seats, and so I don't know when it is yet, unfortunately. But it's going to happen, and I hope this year because we're working on a whole bunch of big events. It's also America's 250th birthday, as we know.
Yes.
So there's a lot of reasons to pull things together, and I can imagine what I've learned a lot about the music business and trying to do this concert. It's not easy, basically, it's very hard to do events from kind of end of April till end of September, early October, because everyone's on tour. On one level, it seems easier, but the answers are usually booked. And so what I'm going to try to do is pull something together that's a concert for Unity sort of in the early fall to celebrate all the Unity Seats we've been doing, all the things we've been doing at America's 250th. I see a path for that. In the meantime, what you're going to see more and more from us is the idea of Unity Seats. Like we're going to go visit, last summer I did a road trip driving across America. The goal is this summer is sort of a sports Unity tour where we go visit almost every major city in the country and have a community service day with our partners at the King Center. One of the honors of this journey is like we are now partnered with the Martin Luther King Center. And we do work with Reverend Dr. Bernice King, and I spent time with her. I'm like, it's, that was never on my, life bingo card thinking that would happen.
Yeah.
So back to, going on these journeys and you don't know where they go. But we're going to try to set up these tours where we go with them. We bring their Nonviolence 365 training to these communities. We have a community service event, and then we culminate the day with Unity Seats all across the country and show how sports is bringing us together, right? So that's become a big focus. And, right after this, I have 3 calls in a row with 3 different sports teams talking about how we do this with them and make these regular programs, because my view is we should have Unity Seats at every game and every concert forever, right? Because back to what I said, Unity got me great seats at XYZ and Division, I'm home alone on the sofa. That's how you change culture, because you start to say, hey, look at this. It's rewarded, it's recognized. And how did I get those seats? Zach's there because he left his job, because he started this media empire and this podcasting and his storytelling to help bring people together. We want Zach in those Unity Seats to show people this is what good work and good things can lead to, and this is how we change culture. And here's somebody who maybe they're struggling, incarcerated father or mother, and or some parent who died of cancer, or returning veteran. One of my partners in doing this created something called Vet Ticks, which has been around for a long time, and first responder ticks, where he gets tickets to all kinds of events donated to him, and they give them for free to veterans and to first responders, right? The point of Unity Seats, it's America. And you get there and you show up and you show that we can come together. So that's going to be the biggest focus. And I think that leads to a big concert for Unity with Unity Seats and music, but that's going to take a little bit longer.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Okay, now back to the show. I want to just ask if you may do this, but if you don't, I'm going to ask if you could do this. Do you, at the end of a road trip or the end of when you leave an event, or even at the end of this call today where you kind of talked about some of your stories, do you go back and kind of reflect on how you, as one person, is making such a major impact in a positive way in this world, and think about all the people that you're touching and all the people that you're changing lives and you're changing the way people think? Like, that's amazing. And do you ever reflect on that?
That's a great question. And I too, first of all, I'm not one person doing this alone. We have an amazing team of people.
But you are the one that's kind of brought this all together, though. And I think you have to give yourself credit for all this amazing stuff that you're doing. You could still be working in private equity, making, a shit ton of money still and doing this and just kind of living your life. But you've decided to take a new path and you're making a huge difference in the world. I mean, like I said, in a short conversation that we had, you've made me think differently. So going across the country for 2.5 months last summer and going to these other events that you're doing, think about how many people like you have this positive energy about you. And I would encourage you to really think about how amazing you are for doing that and how you are changing people's lives and how you're like doing things for people in the community. The the woman for the Mayo Clinic with cancer. I mean, just the few stories that you told, and I'm sure you have hundreds or thousands of them of people that you've helped and stuff. That's We need more people like you on this planet, not just in America, but just in this world. And I think you should really be proud of that.
Well, I love you. Thank you for saying that. And you're right. I mean, I do, we all have to have self-compassion, self-kindness, and self-care, right? I mean, one of the things to that point, I say a lot is you can't be a unifier if you're not happy yourself. You don't love yourself.
Yes.
You don't have care and compassion for yourself. How are you going to have any of that for anyone else if you can't start with yourself? So you're 1,000% right. I think I'm doing more of that. It's a whole nother story, but I've been on this journey. I mean, mental health and trauma and a lot of issues have been struggles for me, like for lots of people in this world. And so in February, I went to something, it's starting to get a little more press, called the Hoffman Process, which is a really interesting, very intense 1-week mental health retreat and program. And it's very much focused on your behavior patterns and that grew out of your childhood and your traumas, and an amazing set of things. And maybe the one thing I would say about that exemplifies its power is my whole life that I can remember, at least as an adult, I've always had like my neck, my back, my shoulders, tight as hell. Like you just assume it's stress from life and work, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever. Of course it is. Massages, they're great but like nobody could really crack that tortoise shell.
I'm the same right now. I understand where you're coming from.
Right. So I went to the Hoffman Process, and what I began to understand is that for my whole life, I've carried around really deep anger from a lot of childhood issues and traumas and lots of things. And fear. Like I never felt emotionally safe from growing up to now. And what I didn't realize is how much that was sitting in my neck and shoulders, literally choking me, strangling me. Because I woke up, and I think it was day 3, it might have been day 4. I remember. All of that pain was gone.
Wow.
Gone. And it has never come back. I mean, I still need massages. I mean, no question. Like you still get a little bit, but like that tightness and like I couldn't, like, gone. Right? That is the power of what that did for me. But in that created the space for me to feel much more happiness and joy and much greater ability to have self-compassion and love myself and thank myself and appreciate what we're doing, what I'm doing, what all of us are doing. And you're 1,000% right. It's important we all do that for ourselves, because if we don't do it ourselves, no one else is going to do it for us.
And does your wife see a big change in you over the past several years? Like, what is her thoughts?
1,000%. I mean, I'd say, really, she saw the biggest change a couple months ago coming back from the Hoffman Process. But yes, I mean, and she's a big part of the inspiration. I mean, she's very involved in a lot of environmental work and climate change in particular, focused on microplastics and plastics and how to change so much of how the pollution that we're creating there. But, she's a big part of the inspiration for me on the journey that I've been on because of the journey that she's been on and is on today. And so, yeah, I mean, our relationship is on a path to being much stronger and much healthier, much more compassionate because of both the work, all the work, this work of Us United, but also the Hoffman Project, everything, where it's, look, you cannot, again, you can't love others, you can't unify with others, you can't intimately connect with others if you don't start with yourself. It's so important.
Yeah. Again, I think you are so amazing. I'm so happy I got the chance to talk with you. I will put the website and Instagram and Facebook and every TikTok all in the description of this video or podcast, however you're listening. But the website is us-united.org. Check it out. The website, I told this to Adam before we before we actually started the recording. His website is amazing. I love the whole branding of it. He said there's needs a few little updates for content, but the website is amazing. It's got lots of great things. It talks about the holiday spectacular, the road trip. I can't wait for the documentary. I love documentaries. I'll help you promote that whenever that comes out. So just let me know when it's out. But
Well, we're going to try to get that out. I mean, I got the proof of concept teaser now. We're talking to distributors, and I would love to get it out, before the 4th of July because of the importance and the timings of it.
Yeah.
We'll see. We got a lot of work to do for make that happen, but we're going to get it out this year and tell the story that Americans haven't seen of what's really to where you started to where we are now. That's part of the story and some other things that we need to share to give that inspiration and give that hope.
You're amazing, Adam. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
Again, I appreciate you so much. I thank you for helping me think a different way. And hopefully this conversation will also make other people think. So if you're listening to this episode and it resonated with you, share this episode with somebody, and it can make a difference in somebody's life or have them change or make us all a little more united because they listen to this episode. So thank you so much, Adam, for being on.
Thank you, Zach. I look forward to helping you with what you're building because I think you're on the right path.
Thanks so much.